Hi fellow makeup fiends and welcome to Naked Week. What would Naked Week be without the Naked palettes? Of course I had to do a video featuring these. It took me a long time to get a hold of Naked One because it sold out very quickly. There was a huge massive rampage for this palette when it first came out, and I'll just talk a little bit briefly about each palette. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I do have videos on these and I do use these a lot. Now what I love about Urban Decay as a brand is everything basically. I mean, I love the packaging and the names, but what I love the most is their shadows are very pigmented, very buttery and blendable and buildable. So they're really great shadows to work with, and they're a really great step up from sort of high street, because I love high street shadows, don't get me wrong. I don't think you can beat an Urban Decay shadow for just how amazing they look, how they feel, how easy they are to work with. So they're really great if you love your neutrals, because the Naked palettes are all about neutral. Now when I first got the original palette, I wasn't sure that I was going to get it. I loved Urban Decay as a brand, but I was kind of like, I don't wear browns. And I didn't wear browns at all, never wear brown on my eyes at all. The only brown I ever used on my eyes was a dark brown mascara from Clinique. That was it. So I was kind of put off. And then I went into Denim's one day and I was in with my daughter, and there it was. And it was like, oh, I had a swatch with it. And I looked at it, and when I first looked at it, it was like, oh, I wouldn't wear that colour. I wouldn't wear that colour. And there was a few colours that I was like, I don't know if I wear that colour. But then I started to swatch it and I was like, oh wow, these colours are really nice. Maybe I should start to experiment with browns on my eyes. So I picked the palette up. So that's what this one looks like. This is a different format to the other two. It is velvet. It feels amazing. I haven't stored it in a drawer with lots of makeup, so it's actually fared fairly well. Hasn't got too grubby. It has a magnetic closure on it, and it's actually quite a strong closure, so that's really good. And it has quite a small mirror in the lid of this one. But to be fair, I never use the mirrors in the lids of palettes anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. So in the original, I'm not going to go through every shade, but I will run them past you. As you can see, hit pan on that one. That is my favourite base colour. Now this palette is often known as the warm toned or more bronzy palette, and yeah, the tones in here are definitely more warm toned. Now I used to get quite confused about the last two shades because they're sort of more sort of blue shades, and I didn't really see those shades as being very naked colours, but they are very, very beautiful. And the colour that I probably least used is the gold. I don't like yellow toned golds at all. Not on me. I don't think they really suit me, but yeah, maybe I should try again, because I didn't even wear browns before, so maybe I can get into golds. Now what I'll say is I absolutely love this palette. Again, great crease colours in here. I think that you could use this along the lash line, so something a little alternative to just using a straight out black, and it does have some really nice sort of dark brown colours in here that I just love wearing. I mean, these are great colours. They do have quite a nice sort of amount of shimmer to them. That's those two brown colours there, but there's a lot of warmth to this palette, so this is a very warm tone sort of palette. I love that it's got a nice highlighter shade in there, and I must admit that the first colours are definitely among my favourites. But as I started to experiment, I did move on to the darker colours. So I love that there's a nice blend between lighter and darker colours. There are some mattes and there's quite a few shimmers in here, and there's some quite unusual colours. But there's in the dark colours, there are a lot of great smoky eye colours. So I think that you could get some great looks from this palette. You could get, I have got some great looks in that palette, so overall I really love that one. But my favourite of the three is definitely Naked 2. Now when they got a Naked 2, they moved on to a tin formation, and it sort of clips shut like that, and it's got this indent where you can open it. And then they decided to put a mirror that was the size of the lid in there, which is really good. I think what they took from the first palette is people loved the velvet, but they thought that it would get grubby quick, so they changed to a tin. And they also said maybe the mirror was too small, so they changed to a larger mirror. So I think that they actually listened to people and actually kind of improved it when they got the Naked 2. Now what I love about Naked 2 is this is very much the cool tone palette, and I'm going to run by again. So there you go. Now this is just insane. I love this as my crease colour. Okay, sorry about that, my camera memory ran out. It's took me about 40 minutes to get everything off it. So I was talking about the Naked 2, which is my favourite. I can't remember exactly what I said, so if I repeat myself, I'll either edit that out or excuse me that I am repeating myself. So, what I love about it is very cool tone. These colours definitely appeal to me a lot more. Again, you have a good mix in here. There are not too many mattes in any of the Naked palettes, but I like that really. As I said, I used to prefer satins and shimmers more anyway. The odd matte in here is really nice as a base or as a crease colour, and I really like that. So for me, it's the perfect balance. And this black, can I just say, insane. That black is just so amazing. So for me, I feel like this is more of a perfect eye look than Naked, because I have got that black that I can use as a liner along the lash line. I have got my perfect crease colour. I've got a really nice matte base colour, and this is just, as you can see from the dent, my favourite highlight colour. And then, being more cool toned, I think that even the metallic shades are a lot more wearable for me, like that copper one, and even that brownie toned one. But the copper one is really beautiful, so I just feel like it hasn't got that yellow gold in it, which is not my favourite thing. It's much more cool toned, it's much more played down, and I think the metallics are a lot more nice, or a lot nicer. Yeah, so I absolutely love this palette, and the dents in this are just absolutely huge. That is such an underrated, beautiful, beautiful colour. In this palette you do have the repeat of Foxy. But again, Foxy is what I use as a base colour, so that's really good. Booty Call is incredibly beautiful. That is Booty Call there. I love that one. And then Tease is just one of those colours that I absolutely love for the crease, because it's just a really nice cool tone taupe. I really love cool tones in the crease, or that's what I started out with. I actually have experimented a bit more with warmer tones there, particularly Salted Caramel from the Too Faced. It's such an unusual colour that I just love how it looks in the crease. But Naked 2 is definitely my favourite of the three. And then moving on to Naked 3. This palette is slightly different. I mean, I'm not overly enthused about the finish. It looks like cardboard that's been left out in the rain and it's gone all crinkly. So the finish is not great for me, and I don't like the gold lettering particularly. I do much prefer the very simple and darker lettering of that one. And yeah, but I like that the 3 is quite curly. It's a little bit different, quite soft, quite romantic, which is what this palette essentially is. It's quite a soft romantic palette. Again, it's the tin closure, so it just kind of clicks shut. And again, the mirror is the size of the lid. And then this is definitely your more rose gold toned palette, so we'll take you along. In this palette, the only highlight colour you've got is this one, which is a matte colour. There are no shimmery highlights in this palette. And this colour, oh my goodness, Black Heart is amazing. It's a black and it's crammed with little specks of red glitter. It's just so beautiful. And that's it there. Definitely works better when you've got a primer underneath it, just because it sucks those bits of glitter onto the primer better. If you use it on the naked eye, I think a lot of the glitter tends to fall out, and then you're just basically left with a black shadow, and it's nowhere near as pigmented as Crave or Blackout, so you're left with a washed out sort of black. But if you use a primer underneath it, it definitely holds onto those red glitter particles a lot better. And I love this palette. I don't love it as much as the others, and I don't certainly love it as much as Naked 2. However, I found 2 amazing crease colours in this palette. I never thought I'd experiment with anything other than a cool taupe, like I said, but lately I have experimented a little bit more, and there are 2 colours in here that are fantastic. So my 2 favourites for crease are Limit and Nuna. Now Nuna is actually quite a dark colour in fairness, so it's quite an unusual choice for the crease. That's that one there, but I love it. I love how that one looks in the crease. That's those 2. I actually like using these together. So with Strange as the highlight, Limit all over the lid, and then Nuna in the crease, which is really quite dark for the crease but works really well with Limit. And then I used Dust on the inner eye to the centre, just as a little bit of a highlight. This actually, those colours work really well together. I think that the mattes in this palette are very impressive. Again, there's not too many of them, and they're really pretty. I love the more coppery sort of shades. Definitely a lot better than I prefer golds. So I think that for me, the metallic ones in this palette just kind of, because they're more pinky, coppery toned ones, I just think that they're just a lot better for me. They're definitely a lot more usable. What I will say is that when you get down to the end of the palette, I think the colours get very samey for me. Let me swatch them. But these 4 colours here, they're very samey. I know they're not identical, but they're just so similar that I just think that those 4 shades are a little bit of a waste here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They're not colours that I massively reach for. I think the most out of all 4 of them, I go for this one, and I would say that these 3 are just colours that I don't really look for. Yeah, I don't know. They're not unique, and that's something that's a little bit of a disappointment, because with these palettes, although yes, they're neutrals, there's a lot of similarity, a lot of common ground, I do look for shades that are a little different, and I feel that they are a little bit too close in colour. I think with this being quite a romantic palette, I know they've stuck to some coppers and pinks, which is beautiful, but I think we could have gone for a nice cooler toned dark brown at the end, which would have been really nice to offset the coppery colours, because I could then see a whole eye in this palette, because there's great crease colours, there's great shimmer colours to highlight the middle of the eye, there's a lovely matte highlight, which is something different for me, and then browns at the end. I mean, if you'd given a dark brown, then I could see using a nice dark brown along the lash line to offset those romantic pink coppery colours. So I think that this palette is not my favourite, because they're just, like I said, those shades kind of ruin it in a way, in that they are too similar. I think if they'd popped a couple of different colours in there, I think it could have brought the palette up a lot more. Also, I'm not so into warm tones or pinky colours. You're kind of thinking, why did you get it? Well, I got it because I've got the other 2, but also because, I mean, I love Limit and Nuna. To be honest, that from here to here, this palette is a massive hit for me. So the first 7 are just amazing, and the last one. So there are 8 colours in here that I think are fantastic, and I can do whole eye looks with. There's just 4 colours in here. They just lack a little bit of oomph for me, if that kind of makes sense. So those are the palettes. So really, they are offering something very different. It's not like they've gone, right, let's do more brown shades. So 1 set of browns, 2, 3 sets of browns. They've actually played around and done something really quite different. So something sort of warm and bronzy with this one. Moving on to cool toned total eye palette, in my opinion, with this one. Pinks and romantic sort of colours in this one. So you've gone from sort of a bronze to a rose gold in a way. And I like that they've done that, because when you are purchasing them, if you really love your Urban Decay and you like to collect them, it's nice that there's difference between all 3 palettes. So whatever mood you're kind of feeling in, then you can kind of go for that palette. The great thing is that these shades work perfectly well together. So often I will have more than one of these out on the desk at any time. If I'm doing a look, I generally do not stick to one palette on its own. I'll use something from another palette to complement it. So what's great about these is, while these shades are different from one palette to the next, they have a lot of shades in these that actually complement each other as well. But Naked 2 is definitely by far my favourite one. But I'm really glad that I've got all 3, because you can achieve completely different looks with all 3. So that's it for today's video. I will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and I'm going to love and leave you and see you all soon. Bye! Hi fellow makeup fans, so welcome. Hi fellow makeup. It's not funny!